didn't even realize there was any discussion around this. I just thought that this was one of the things you just do and you hope that it's right. What am I on about? These things. And the discussion is how high you should put them. I, for the longest time, have had them on adjustable stands, backdrop supports, where you can take them as high as the room will allow. Or, when they were fixed in my home studio, they were on the ceiling, because that was as high as they would go. When I'm talking about backdrops, I am specifically, at the moment, talking about these big paper rolls. Now, I do have these shorter ones. These are these are 1.35 meters. These ones, on the other hand, are bigger. They're twice as long. The big ones are just a little smidge over 2.7 meters wide. And that's great. That's really perfect for taking pictures of people, because you can have more than one person. You can have more than one person, or you've just got space for one person. The key thing is how high. And this is kind of a trade-off thing at this point, because these rolls are relatively expensive for what they are. They're kind of disposable. If you roll them out long enough that you can walk on them, they don't look great back up against the wall. These will roll out. They are 11 meters long when you buy them. But as you use them, you trim them down, you're going to lose that length. Which means, at some point, they become useless, because they're just not long enough to do anything with. And so, if I was to put this all the way to the top, almost 4 meters high, well, I'm going to lose potentially quite a lot of that background, because the minimum I can use is 4 meters of it, which is over a third of it. Now, that's not a problem I face at the moment. This backdrop is brand new, just recently filled it for the first time. Yeah, filled. I'm going to go with filled. But I wanted to get a good idea of how high or how low, I guess, I could put it, and it still be useful. The thing is, I'm impatient, so I already put it up. I did a little bit of digging though. I looked around, and basically there's a lot of talk of feet. I don't work in feet. Walk on feet. Am I trying to be funny? I don't know. So 10 feet, which is about 3 meters, or 8 feet, which is about 2.4 meters. Somewhere in there, that seems to be the ideal thing. Height-wise, so for kids and products, maybe 1.5 meters by 1 meter. That'll probably do you. Just one person, probably like 1.5 by 2 to 2.5. If you want that to come out, that whole backdrop is going to be more like 3 to 4 meters, but you still only have the same height. Then for a group of people, minimum width is the 2.7 meter roll, and height again is 2.5 to 4 meters. And then for a decent sized group, height stays sort of the same to 4 meters, but width anything up to 6 and beyond. So that's conventional wisdom that I found multiple places on the internet. So how did I work out how high this one was going to go? Well, what I did was found the tallest thing that I could stand on and just reached up as high as it would go. So they're about 2.8 meters high, which is taller than, anyone I've met ever. So it gives you a good amount of space above anyone's head. What I thought I'd do though, because I guess you could go and you could do the searches and see what would make sense for you. What I decided to do was have a play about and just show you what this looks like at different focal lengths, and show you what kind of what kind of portion of someone's body you could fit in on this, and just what it looks like at different focal lengths and distances as much as possible. So without further ado, the backdrop. So for reference here, I am 183 centimeters tall, which is around about 6 foot. What I've done is I've measured 1.5 meters away from the backdrop, which felt like enough that I could separate myself from the backdrop. I could light me and not the backdrop. I could light the backdrop and not me. If, for example, I put a white backdrop on there and I want to blow out the background, which is something that you can do. I'm not going to go into it now. There's a whole video in itself, but 1.5 meters seemed about right for this test. And then I put the camera 6 meters away. And first of all, I put it on, so I'm using an APS-C size sensor, but I'll do the conversion for you. So full frame, 15 millimeters is first, and well, it's useless because it's basically just a spot across the other side of the room. Then to about 24 millimeters, which at 6 meters away is still pretty useless. I don't really know what this test is showing you, but I've done it and I'm gonna share it because, well, otherwise it feels like a waste of time. Next is a 50 mil on an APS-C, which is about 75 millimeters. This is kind of like portrait length telephoto. For some reason I didn't hit record when I was doing the 50 mil equivalent, but you know, you get the idea. You're gonna use this for 3/4 lengths and headshots basically. And then I just threw in at the end 200 millimeters full frame equivalent. And well, doesn't really show you much at all other than you can get this kind of compression across the room at 6 meters, and obviously you'll be on the background. But what's more interesting is to look at some photographs. So I've set this up. I don't have a remote trigger that was long enough to reach the camera, so I was using my mouse and Capture One, and basically what I've done is I set the camera back about 3.5, 4 meters from me with a 50 mil lens, and then took some pictures of me looking quite sincere, which is kind of laughable. Trying all of the things I know to tell people to make them look better when they are in front of the camera, when I'm safely behind it, like lengthen out your neck and smize and squint, or whatever it is, where you sort of contract the lower lids of your eye. Kind of a modelly look, like I'm above this sort of thing. And put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. They're not really going to do anything for me because I've got my beard, but if you put your tongue, if you push it up against the roof of your mouth, it gets rid of this little bit of chinny chin. If you want to get rid of that for you, next time you're having pictures done, tell your model to do it if they feel that way inclined. Also, don't force people to do it. They might not want to, and they might be perfectly happy with how they look. Yeah, straight up through the spine, that kind of thing. Look off longingly into the distance, that sort of thing. And then I backed it up, and with the same lens took a full body shot. I could have rolled the backdrop out, but I didn't want to waste backdrop on pictures of myself, for obvious reasons. And I hope you like my socks. So basically the conclusion is 2.4 to 2.8 meters is probably adequate for this kind of backdrop. The other backdrops, the smaller ones, I don't use for taking pictures of people really. I use them for products for the most part. So they just tend to go on whatever backdrop stand I can put with, some sort of table set up, usually something makeshift with some painted backgrounds on top of them, that kind of thing. So I don't know about those ones yet, but in a future video, I'm going to build a shooting table for all my photography needs, and that's going to feature those 1.35 meter backdrops. So if you're not already subscribed, subscribe, because I think you might find that interesting, even if it's not something that you're going to actually eventually do, because things are interesting even if they're not something you're going to do. So yeah, that's backdrops. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Layers.
The first ever videos not first ever videos. I've made videos in the past, but the one, the video shoot, if I can call it that got me into video in the first place was actually me videoing myself doing some interpretive dance, like quite sincerely doing interpretive dance. It was part of a project for my masters. It all got a little bit silly at one point, like sincerely silly though. Like I was not joking around about it. I was being sincere. Right, that's enough for today.